The hum of machinery echoed softly in the control room, as the lights from various monitors flickered in the dimly lit space. The world had changed, and with it, the boundaries of human experience had expanded far beyond what was once thought possible. The advent of Yapi Ruya Dunyalari, artificial dream worlds, had opened a door to exploration unlike any other. Inside this room stood Dr. Elena Royce, head of the Astral HFY, a team tasked with one of the most ambitious missions of human history, traveling to distant planets and galaxies without ever leaving Earth. The technology was groundbreaking. By using advanced neural networks, they could project their consciousness into the fabric of distant planets, exploring these worlds through artificially induced dreams. But these weren't just any dreams. They were as real as life itself. "Is everything ready?" Elena asked, glancing at her team of engineers and scientists. "Yes, Dr. Royce. The Dreamworld interface is calibrated. We're ready for the first projection," one of the technicians replied, adjusting the controls. Elena nodded, her heart pounding in anticipation. Years of preparation had led to this moment. The human mind was now capable of projecting itself into the farthest reaches of space, bypassing the need for physical travel. The implications were staggering: limitless exploration, new resources, new life forms, all accessible from the comfort of a neural link. "All right, team," Elena said, taking her position at the central pod. "Let's take the first step." As she reclined in the pod, the neural helmet was gently lowered onto her head. Within moments, she felt a cool wave of energy course through her mind. Her senses began to blur, the room fading from her view as the Dreamworld technology activated. Slowly, the sensations of the real world gave way to something new, something vivid. Suddenly, she was no longer in the control room. She was standing on solid ground, the air around her fresh and alien. The colors of the landscape were unlike anything she had seen before. Strange hues of blue and purple swirled in the sky, and the ground beneath her feet shimmered with a faint glow. She could hear the soft rustle of alien plants swaying in the wind. "This is incredible," Elena whispered to herself. The dream world was as real as reality itself, yet she knew her body remained back on Earth. She glanced around, taking in the breathtaking alien landscape. The others would soon follow her into this world, but for now, she was the first human to set foot, albeit virtually, on a distant planet. Her heart swelled with the thrill of discovery. This was it. This was the future of exploration. She could feel the pulse of this new world under her feet. Every sound, every movement, was real. Yet as Elena marveled at the beauty around her, a strange feeling crept into the back of her mind. A faint whisper, something she couldn't quite place. "Is someone there?" she called out, spinning around. But the landscape was empty. The wind howled softly in the distance. Just as she was about to dismiss it as her imagination, a figure appeared in the distance. A dark silhouette, too far to make out clearly. Elena's breath caught in her throat. No life forms had been detected on this planet. Who, or what was that? The air hummed with a quiet pulse, as if the very fabric of this world breathed with life. Elena stood frozen, her gaze locked on the distant figure. It hovered on the edge of the horizon, like a shadow cast by a forgotten memory. The wind carried a faint whisper, but the words were lost to the swirling silence of this dream world. "Am I truly alone here?" she wondered, her thoughts echoing through the strange, alien landscape. Each step she took was cautious, the ground beneath her feet shifting like the pages of a book, yet firm enough to hold her weight. The horizon seemed to bend and curve, distorting with each breath she took. Time felt fluid, like it stretched and contracted with her pulse, as though the world itself was synced to the rhythm of her heartbeat. In the distance, the figure moved. Slowly, methodically. Elena's mind raced, her instincts torn between curiosity and caution. No life forms had been detected, and yet, here it was. Was it an illusion? A fragment of her own mind, bleeding into this fabricated dream? She pressed forward, her pulse quickening with every step. The closer she got, the more the figure seemed to dissolve into the mist, as though the landscape itself refused to reveal its secrets so easily. The wind grew louder, swirling around her, carrying with it the faintest echo of something just out of reach. A voice, perhaps, or a thought lost to the vastness of this dream world. "Elena!" The whisper was faint but unmistakable. She stopped dead in her tracks, her breath catching in her throat. She hadn't imagined it. Her name, spoken by a voice that was neither hers nor any of her team members. But how? "Who's there?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly, though she willed herself to remain calm. Silence greeted her. The mist thickened, curling around her like an embrace from an unseen presence. Her instincts screamed at her to retreat, but something deeper, something primal, urged her to stay, to seek out the answer to the mystery unfolding before her. And then, as if summoned by her will, the mist parted. The figure stood before her now, only a few meters away. It was humanoid, yet there was an unmistakable distortion to its form, its edges blurred, as though it were both there and not, caught between the physical and the ethereal. "Elena!" The voice came again, this time clearer, stronger. Her heart raced. The figure didn't move, but its presence was overwhelming, as if the entire world around her was bending toward it, drawn to its gravity. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure tilted its head, and for the briefest moment, Elena swore she saw a flicker of recognition in its eyes, if they could be called eyes at all. A pulse of energy rippled through the air, causing the ground beneath her to tremble. This isn't just a dream, she realized. There's something alive here. Before she could take another step, the figure vanished, dissolving into the mist once more. But the air remained charged, heavy with the weight of something ancient, something waiting to be uncovered. "Elena, report back. Are you seeing this?" The voice of one of her team members crackled through her earpiece, jarring her back to reality, or whatever version of reality this was. She pressed her hand to her earpiece, her thoughts racing. "I'm not sure. I think there's something here. Something we didn't anticipate." The mist wrapped itself around her like a second skin, cool and weightless, yet full of unseen intent. Elena's heart pounded in her chest, each beat a soft drum against the eerie silence that filled the dream world. The figure was gone, but its presence lingered in the air, as though it had left behind an echo, an imprint that refused to fade. She had seen something beyond the fabric of the dream. The rules of this world were unraveling before her, like the delicate threads of a forgotten tapestry coming apart. Elena could feel it in the way the ground trembled beneath her feet, in the way the very air seemed to pulse with a strange, almost sentient awareness. "Elena, are you still there?" The voice of her team member, distant and distorted, crackled through her earpiece. "I'm here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But something's wrong. I saw something, or someone. It's hard to explain, but I don't think we're alone here." The response was a brief silence, followed by static, and then, "No life forms were detected, Elena. You're probably just experiencing a glitch in the simulation. Head back to the safe zone." Glitch? Her thoughts raced. This was no mere malfunction. She had felt the presence, had heard her name whispered on the wind. The dream world, it seemed, was not as empty as they had assumed. It was alive, in ways that defied their understanding. "I need to investigate," she replied, her voice firmer now. "There's more to this place than we realized." Without waiting for a response, Elena pressed on, her feet carrying her deeper into the strange, shifting landscape. The mist thickened once more, swirling like smoke caught in a breeze. There was an urgency now, a pull that guided her, though to what, she couldn't say. As she ventured further, the ground beneath her began to change. The once smooth surface gave way to jagged rocks and twisted roots, alien flora creeping up from the earth in spirals of luminescent tendrils. The air grew heavier, thicker, as though time itself had slowed, trapping her in a liminal space between worlds. And then she saw it, a structure, ancient and weathered, emerging from the mist like a forgotten ruin, its edges blurred with age. Yet there was an undeniable power that radiated from it, a pulse that seemed to resonate with the very core of her being. Elena stepped closer, her breath catching in her throat. Symbols, unfamiliar and intricate, adorned the stone walls of the structure, glowing faintly in the dim light. She reached out, her fingertips brushing against the cold surface, and in that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. A low hum vibrated through the air, and the symbols flared to life, casting a soft, ethereal glow that illuminated the mist around her. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once, a doorway to something far beyond her comprehension. Elena! The whisper came again, but this time, it was not from the mist. It was inside her mind. She staggered back, her heart pounding. The voice? No, the presence was stronger now, closer. It was not just observing her. It was reaching out, calling to her, pulling her toward the threshold of something ancient and vast. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and fear. The air around her pulsed, the energy growing more intense, more real. And then, in a sudden flash of clarity, she understood. This was no mere dream world. This was a gateway, a bridge between the conscious mind and something far greater, something that had existed long before humanity had even begun to explore the stars. "You do not belong here," the voice said, and this time it was clear, distinct. It was not a warning, but a statement of fact. Elena's mind reeled, but she could not turn back now. She was standing on the edge of an abyss, and whatever lay beyond was calling to her, urging her to step forward, to cross the boundary into the unknown. With a deep breath, she took the first step into the light. As Elena crossed the threshold, the world around her shifted. This was no longer just a dream. The structure, the presence calling her, it was all real. With each step, the ground beneath her echoed as if the stones themselves were alive, resonating with an ancient pulse. The silence that once enveloped this place now buzzed with unseen energy, a low hum that beckoned her deeper into the unknown. The walls around her began to glow. Once cold and dormant, the symbols that adorned the stone surfaces flickered to life, each one vibrating with a strange energy. These were not just markings, they were pieces of a language she had never learned, yet somehow she understood. "Welcome!" the voice rippled through her mind, no longer a whisper carried by the wind, but a force that reverberated within her very being. The entity, the one that had been watching, was now fully present, no longer hidden in the mist, but intertwined with her thoughts, her consciousness. Elena shivered, but she didn't step back. The boundaries of logic, science, and dream had all blurred together. Whatever this entity was, it wasn't just an observer. It was the creator, the force that governed this realm. Who are you?" Elena asked, though she no longer used her voice. There was no need. The entity already understood her thoughts before they even fully formed. "I am the gatekeeper, the dream and the reality, the bridge you have crossed." The voice was a tide washing over her, each word a wave that sank deeper into her mind. "You seek knowledge, yet you stumble into realms beyond your comprehension." Elena's breath caught in her throat. Is this a dream? She wasn't even sure of her own question anymore. Dreams and reality, they had merged into something unrecognizable. Dream? Reality? They are but shadows of each other. The entity's voice echoed through the chamber, vibrating off the glowing walls. "You have touched the edge of a forgotten truth, a truth buried in the stars, in the deepest corners of the human mind." The symbols on the walls flared brighter, casting soft, ethereal light around the chamber. Each symbol seemed to pulse with meaning, telling stories of stars, forgotten civilizations, and bridges to worlds beyond human comprehension. Humanity had believed they were pioneers, explorers of distant galaxies through artificial dreams. But now Elena understood. They had stumbled upon a path far older than they could have imagined. The gatekeeper had been here long before their discovery, waiting in the shadows. Elena felt the weight of this knowledge pressing down on her. Humanity, in their quest to explore the stars, had inadvertently crossed into a realm they were never meant to find. The dream world wasn't just a tool for exploration. It was a doorway, a passageway between realities. And this entity, this gatekeeper, was the guardian of that passage. Did we come here by mistake? Elena's voice trembled with realization. We only wanted to explore. Elena stood at the precipice of two realities, the weight of the entity's words bearing down on her like the crushing gravity of a distant star. The walls around her, once glowing with symbols of forgotten truths, now flickered and dimmed as if they too awaited her decision. Time stretched thin, like the moment before a storm where all is silent but pregnant with the threat of upheaval. Choose, Elena. The voice of the entity reverberated through her mind, insistent yet patient. You cannot linger here. Either you continue to dream, or you wake. But know this, with knowledge comes responsibility. What you choose now will shape more than just your own fate. The air seemed to hum with anticipation. Elena's breath was shallow, her thoughts racing. Could she truly wake from this world, this dream that felt as real as the ground beneath her feet? Or would she remain trapped, forever wandering in the corridors of this ancient realm? Her eyes flickered to the walls, the symbols pulsing faintly in the dim light. They told stories of dreamers who had come before, those who had crossed the threshold into the unknown. Some had remained here, lost to the mysteries of the dream world, while others had returned to their reality, forever changed by what they had seen. Elena's heart ached with the weight of it all. The power to shape reality lay within her grasp, but with it came the terrible burden of consequence. The dream world was not just a place of exploration. It was a place of creation, where the boundaries between thought and matter blurred, where the mind could bend the fabric of existence. If I stay, what will become of me? She asked, her voice trembling. The entity was silent for a moment, as if considering her question. Then, its voice came, softer now, almost human. You will become part of this world, as others before you have. Your thoughts, your dreams, will no longer be your own. You will merge with the collective consciousness, shaping and being shaped by the dreams of all who have walked this path. Elena shuddered. To lose herself, to become a part of something so vast and unknowable, it was terrifying. Yet, there was a strange allure to it, the promise of boundless creation, the power to shape worlds with her mind. And if I wake, she asked, you will return to the world you know. But the knowledge you have gained here, it will stay with you. You will see the world with new eyes, and the boundaries of what you thought was real will never again be the same. Elena closed her eyes, her mind spinning. Both paths were irrevocable. To stay was to surrender to the unknown, to give up her individuality in exchange for limitless creation. To wake was to return to the familiar, but forever changed by the knowledge of what lay beyond. She thought of her team, still connected to the dream world, unaware of the truth she now held in her hands. They trusted her. They believed in the mission. But none of them could have foreseen this impossible choice between two realities. Her heart pounded as the finality of the moment settled over her. She had to decide. The weight of her decision pressed down on her, and yet, in the stillness of her mind, a clarity emerged. I choose, she whispered. The air around her crackled with energy, the symbols on the walls flaring to life one final time. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if awaiting her next words. I choose to wake. In an instant, the walls began to dissolve, the structure collapsing into a swirl of light and mist. The ground beneath her feet gave way, and Elena felt herself falling, tumbling through the void, the dream world slipping away from her grasp. And then, with a sudden jolt, she was back. Her eyes flew open, the harsh lights of the control room flooding her vision. She gasped, her body trembling as the neural helmet was gently lifted from her head. Around her, the hum of machinery and the soft voices of her team brought her crashing back to reality. Elena? A voice called out, one of the technicians. Are you okay? She blinked, her mind struggling to reconcile what she had just experienced. The dream world, the entity, the choice. It was all still so vivid in her mind. Yet here she was, back in the control room, the weight of the decision still heavy on her chest. She struggled to find the words. I'm fine. But she wasn't. The world, the real world, felt different. She could still feel the presence of the dream world lingering in her mind, like a shadow that refused to fade. The knowledge she had gained there, the truth of what dreams really were, would never leave her. As she looked around at her team, unaware of the magnitude of what she had experienced, she knew one thing for certain. The boundary between dreams and reality had been shattered, and there was no going back.